start from here. This should be a strategic guide to CDP implementation. Of course, due to lack of time for everything in our lives, it is a summary. It is quite aggregated look at what we should discuss today. So any later questions, comments are more than welcomed, and we will answer it responsibly later on, maybe on LinkedIn or in emails. It doesn't matter. Before we start with the very detailed information, let me introduce shortly ePace. As Paul said, we exist for adoption of CDP, and we help companies to adopt new technologies where CDP belongs, definitely. We are a result-driven agency dedicated to making the efficient management of CDP tools and customer experience an integral part of daily business operations. Daily business operations is the important part, as we see later on slides. And we are bridging the worlds of marketing, IT, and business intelligence, and we enable organizations to operate let's say, at the cutting edge, delivering solutions with the speed and precision that define our approach. So it is also good to say that we are a rare type of partner, certified partner for more CDPs, because we don't work for many brands. But for those that do, we work deeply for many years and become an integral part of the brand we work for. We love a long game, not POC or MVPs, which are useful and great indeed, but the long game is more important for us. There are some references you can see on the screen. We are a proud member of CDP Institute and AI Association in Czech Republic. And of course, we are partnering with the best vendors of CDPs, the best in our point of view, of course. We evaluate it very carefully, and we don't serve many of them, but the best in class from our point of view. We provide a full service from initial thinking about CDP, navigating the C-level managers, how to think about it, what are the quick questions for CFO, CSO, CEO, CIO, and all those C managers and heads of something to orient and navigate expectations, which is very important before the CDP arrives to the company. In numbers, side phase of ePace, we are ePace, the name is coming from importance of pace in this entire process from the very beginning, from initial thoughts of onboarding CDP to after integration and implementation acceleration, when the CDP is ready, integrated across the company, not only in marketing department. And the side phase is we have now more than 6 years of experiences. There is nothing else we focus on in the business area but to CDP only. So we are mastering our knowledge and experiences in CDP world, having more than 80,000 hours direct work in cloud in CDP environment, setting up, integrating, and everything what is related to CDP. On long-term perspective, we deliver on average 300% of ROI, including license prices, costs, and costs for ePace as a partner, guiding the client to the future with CDP. On average, every client stay with us more than 3 years. And until today, we brought more than 60 million USD net increment. That means that without CDP, this increment wouldn't be reached at all. So those are numbers. Some prologue or how to launch the topic. I consider it as a very important and essential part of this philosophy and the business, entire business, and thinking about the business at all. Today, the e-commerce world is a melting pot. We are witnessing a great number of applications, more than 14,000 today. You can use for marketing, advancing in marketing and increasing performance, whatever performance is called like, and it's paralyzing the decision makers, which way to choose, what direction is the right. And in addition to that, AI is changing the world today a lot. So the paralysis is even deeper, and it's not easy to find the way out. And therefore, we are here. I very often use the perspective of Neville Goddard. I love him, no matter he died before I have been born. But he said many things. Above all, he said that in a dynamic and evolving world, there is only way to solve the problems, and it is a change of attitude and approach. CDP is changing the world, or the attitude and approach which should be taken to be successful with CDP. And as we will see later on, the world of technology is evolving exponentially. And this is something nobody can be chasing for a long time. And the only thing we need is technology again, and this will not change any soon in the future. So changing the attitude of organizations, companies, brands, how to use technology, what technology, in our case, it's CDP, definitely, is our goal and the achievement we would like to follow. So Neville Goddard helped me very much. And the truth is that the only easy day was yesterday, which is US Marines motto. And it said a very simple thing, that the mindset and approach required to achieve excellence in any field, including business, has to be very strong. It is also a reminder that there will always be challenges to face, and that we should never become complacent. And that's why we exist at ePace, to help with this thing. This is a very good graph I love, showing how technology evolves and how organization evolves. The result of this picture is something we call digital maturity. And this is the first thing we are looking at companies. What's the level of their digital maturity? Because that's the starting point. That's the starting point, which is very crucial and important for any other further development. And that's why we focus also on AI. AI is a promise for this gap between technological and organizational evolution, because from many definitions, I love the one which says that AI is solving or is a solution for a loss function. So AI helps a lot in formulating and postulating goals and objectives to managers, and besides many other things. And what is the really good takeout is that CDP, Meiro including, of course, is AI native for a long time already, because CDPs are working with data, and everything we can learn about data is very natural for CDP functionality, architecture, and everything. So this is also offering one winning approach, that onboarding of CDP is solving much more issues and future issues than sending emails straightforward. And you can see how many applications exist. You can visit martechmap.com, and this is just a very niche picture of it. There's much more applications and so on. So what's the way out of this mess and melting point? And we think, or we are pretty sure already after all those years, it's CDP. CDP offers companies and brands a solid point. Solid point you can use for many operations to unite the company across departments inside. It's a playground, not only for marketing, because marketing is such an important thing that it doesn't belong only in the hands of marketing, and the role of CMO in companies is brand new and is evolving pretty much. And CMO, but well, it's for another webinar, what CMO should does and what the goals are for him. But the CDP is the answer for many questions, many fears of technology and involvement. It's also a remedy for marketing operations and chasing the gap between technology and chasing the better customer experience in the end. We say that CDP is the peak of technological evolution. This is not about CDP, what it can does or do, or and so on. I believe you are quite familiar what CDP can bring, do, and at what area it can help. But in our point of view, it's a comprehensive solution for communication with customers, and the communication is the very important thing for every brand. Brand is the king, well, but it might be also a very interesting webinar, because all the answers we are trying to formulate and speak out has quantum physics, and through emotions is describing what CDP can do and what it is, what the relationship between customer and brands is about. But I'm not very popular in this because it's too complicated. So let's skip it. CDP is definitely the answer for everything what is coming and demanding. The technology involvement, customer needs, low seamlessly friction, one swipe operation and everything. CDP is the answer for this. So let me formulate from this point 5 strategic tips for CDP onboarding, coming out from our 6 years experience. We did a lot of fuck-ups, if I may say it, it's recorded, and we entered a lot of dead ends already. So this experience is very valuable. And if nothing else, the average of our relationship with customers more than 3 years and the results we are achieving might be a good proof that there is something in what I'm going to share with you, and it might help you, I hope so, when thinking about CDP, its role, and the best ways how to integrate it into the companies, which is not easy task. First of all, the very popular and very common question is it a long game or short stress? I explained. Long game means that you have a plan not only for upcoming month or few months, but you have a plan for years. And we help to state such a plan for companies. We do a deeper cross-company audit and assessment. We talk to all departments. I will show you later on a case study how it might look like. And we try to know what's the digital maturity and the starting point of the company from which we are proceeding and continuing in onboarding of CDP, how to onboard the CDP, what are the data sources, at what shape and condition the company has it, because very often it's a nice story, we have everything very well structured, and once we enter the world of the client we work for, we are surprised. Not so often already, but still there is a huge amount of work how to align and get ready for coming of CDP if it should work for a longer time than 3 months. Short stress means that, of course, C-level managers love to have quick proofs of performance and results to be sure that the decision about CDP investment and onboarding is and was the right decision. And short stress leads to many dead ends. Of course, you don't have to sacrifice one or the other. But if you have a long plan or plan for longer perspective, you can still enjoy quick wins and so-called POC, proof of concepts, and so on. But these quick proof of concepts are not leading to long-time prosperity and perspective. Maybe a good example might be that if you are trying to take off with the plane on a runway, the long game means that you know everything what is necessary before you are trying to take off. Short stress and quick wins means that you jump into the plane trying to achieve some speed you've heard is sufficient to take off, and you try it. And you know from the movies that the plane will just jump and sit back on a runway. 80% of companies will never get the second chance to take off because the story ends. If you have a good plan and you know how long the runway has to be, what speed you have to achieve, and you know about the weather and everything, you know the plane and how to pilot it, then you have a good chances to take off and steep up and fly for a long time. So that's my recommendation. You can enjoy the quick wins, but don't start CDP onboarding without a long-term perspective. Knowing the starting point, what's the situation inside the company, what are departments' needs, and what will lead to customer experience or higher level of it, and what is necessary to do, what are the jobs to be done across the company. That's the game we play. And of course, enjoyment from short, quick wins and short stress belongs to it. But the long game is more important because otherwise, if companies focus on proof of concept and trying something, maybe it is the way, maybe it is not, we will see very soon. They can't avoid very often the hype cycle. Means from the beginning, it looks just great. Seamless integration, not so many data needs. We can run some web layers, sending some newsletter. It's very quickly, it has impact, that's great. And then it ends up. Because to reach the plateau of productivity, a long term going higher and higher with that plane requires much more. Suddenly, you will need more data sources and the story will repeat and you had just one chances very often. Nobody is willing to pay you attention again and again and again. Do it right from the beginning means you are going high all the time and the plateau of productivity is closer. Of course, it requires a patience and trust of the customer, and without partner, it is very unsuccessful very often because we are here to tell the truth to the customer. We are not very popular, but we have, I would say, great negotiation skills, and we are able to convince the client and the C-level managers that the long game makes sense and hype cycle is closer than they think it is. So and so that was chapter 1, or the tip number 1. Long game is more important. Enjoy the short game as well. But without long game, there is no future, or there is very short life cycle of using CDP. A lot of disappointment very soon after those few tests happened very well. But what's next? Again, a hard work and repeated hard work. And it doesn't lead to longer term prosperity. Chapter 2, warm up. I talked about it. It is very important to warm up organization, people, processes, data sources, data lakes, if you want, to feed the beast, which is CDP. You have to feed it very well. Not everything belongs to CDP as a data sources. We don't need all the data the house or brand has. It's a nonsense. But knowing which data we need, requires a little work. So we try to show in a broader context what CDP can do now or very, very soon or in the future, because you are building a customer-centric approach. All the data you have about customer belongs to CDP in aggregated form, or all relevant data belongs that. Because the success is not data-driven. That's also my opinion on it, but it's a myth. It's a business-driven, data-based. There's a big difference between data-driven and data-based. You can Google it later on, but data-based, business-driven is more important. So we are measuring the level of digital maturity. We are running a lot of tests in e-commerce environment, on the web page and e-shop, offline also very often. We do mystery shopping to test the response of environment in digital world. And e-commerce today is everything. Since the time you have a mobile phone in the pocket, everything is e-commerce, and there's nothing else like e-commerce. Everything has impact. So we are also doing calculations, not only on a cost side, but also on revenue side, which is very important, because suddenly the C-level managers will realize it is not a costly operation, but it's investment, because the money means revenue is coming very soon. Sometimes not that soon, but it's coming and it's higher than costs at the very beginning. So we at ePace say that within 9 months, we are able to run the process of returning €3 in return of 1 invested euro. That's the promise, and we have some guarantees like fail fee or success fee and so on. But back to warm-up phase. To knowing the starting point, to knowing the environment of the company, to speak with all managers, to bridge their relationship, which are not in a very good condition very often, and to emphasize the strategic role of marketing, not making a great pictures for communications, but data-based and business-driven marketing is very important. And based on that, there is a strategy and a roadmap in the end of this process for onboarding, and everybody knows what will happen when, what's their role in entire process. So we are doing a deep audit of IT and data sources, web, who is providing services, how it is structured, what's the technology, CRM very often, because there is an acquisition and retention, and in both CDPs playing important role. Emailing, how they do it, what use cases automated they have, and the team, which is last but not least, very important, who is decision maker, what is the influence map in the company, and do we have a support from C-level or not? Because if yes, it's half winning strategy. If not, we will think hard whether it pays off or not, to the brand, not to us. So good warm-up will instill CDP into the entire company. Without it, 80% of companies will not take off the second time, and sooner or later you will have to start all over again, which is not wished. I saw it many times. A lot of MVPs and POCs. It's a great thing, but it has to be essential part of a longer plan and a longer game. So the tip 2, get ready and look to the mirror and accept the truth, which is not very popular very often, but it helps to improve it. So that was tip 2. Tip 3, very often we are asked, and we are facing also the reality, whether CDP belongs to marketing or IT. Why it should belong to IT? It's a technology, so IT department should absorb this new technology and provide services to any stakeholder in the company who requires such a services. IT department speaks our language, so less barriers on a technological level of discussion. That's great. That helps a lot. IT has very often big budget, so it's not such a painful to invest, if they think already it is investment. Product ownership. Product owners very often belong to IT, or IT tries to integrate it under them. So I have to speed it up. There are also very good reasons for marketing, because marketing is driving customer experience and everything what is connected. And strategic tip, none of that, CDP belongs to the entire company, and we are looking for mutual speech together, IT and marketing. Of course, CDP can sit technologically in IT, but marketing is making it working from business perspective. So there is not a black and white choice. The company has to accept CDP as a solution cross department. I know it's not easy, but it is possible. So if ever a company should pull together, it's now. Number 4, people, important and essential part. Without people, there is nothing. So we have to speak to top managers, C-level managers, people who will operate with CDP, working with it, and so on. And until the key people in the company understand the impact and possibilities of CDP, you will always be far behind the potential it can bring. You use MailChimp and other tools because it's pretty good, unless you have a long plan and you know what potential it can bring. And the people is essential part. You have to listen, you have to care, you have to understand the business. That's our role, to absorb all of this information and to align and to convince the people that they have a new playground, and all of them can play at this playground with great results. So people are very important. And the partner, you can do it yourself, or you can use a partner who can lead you through the entire process, from thinking to diagnostics, building strategy, providing integration in cooperation with IT, implementing use cases, designing use cases, and the entire map of use cases you can have, and which makes some increment and productivity optimization, because you are collecting data, and we think in 3 iterations you can improve performance of use cases by 20 or 30%, 3 iterations. Then it's overkill already, and accelerating and connecting the ecosystems of use cases makes great sense.
Yeah, John, let me maybe make a small pause here. I think we are slightly stretching the timeline of the call today, so I don't think we will be able to get through the Q&A. I would really like to get to the case studies so that you have prepared. But I have a question that maybe we could ask here. So we really like as a technology provider, as Meiro, we really like that when our customers work with partners, because that means that they have the support for all of the change management and the adoption, someone who is dedicated to that and has an experience with it, right? You mentioned that your typical customers stay with you about 3 years. Could you maybe speak to a little bit what does the collaboration look like in the past that initial stage where everything has to be integrated, and those kind of first few months of where everything is configured and they start sending first campaign? How, as a partner, do you keep adding value the remaining 2.5 years on average out of those 3 years? How does that work? What's the best practices there?
Yes. But best practice which pays off is that using a partner or some senior member of vendors team means that you are entering the company and you are talking to many people. Right now we are running a huge integration, and we are talking with already 40 people in the organization, because in business as usual they are not talking with each other. They have isolated, not only data silos isolated, but they are just following their goals and KPIs, and they are not interacting very often. And we are bringing the energy to listen to their needs, mapping everything and connecting together. This is the only remedy to longer relationship and longer usage of CDP. So there has to be, probably you know it, Pavel, if you want to learn your children to ski, I tried many years, but one teacher, one paid lesson did much more advancement with my kid than I did in the last 3 years. So somebody outside the company is coming, has energy, is listening, is skilled and experienced, and will help you align all the agenda all together between departments, between managers, explaining and understanding. That's the only cure, and that's about people. So we have to talk, listen, and bring solution. CDP enables. That's the main point. Is the answer right?
Yeah, I think so. Would you maybe speak to use cases? Would that look like prioritization? When, from my experience, we typically when we start working with a client, it's really easy to come up with like a 30 scenarios that
Yes.
The client could start, coding and putting together and building up those customer journeys. And how do you think about prioritization there? What's the compass for prioritization of where do you start? Is it channels? Is it based on whether it's acquisition or retention? How do you think about that?
Yes. I missed just one last slide, which is very self-explanatory, so I will just beam it. It's tip number 5. It depends. When two are doing the same, it's not the same. I used Aaron Croscale picture. And now to case studies. I have one case study with CZC.CZ, one of the biggest, number 1 in Czech Republic, in also in recent times. And we started a few years ago already, and it was pretty hard. So we did a warm-up phase, and we need to know customer data they have already and data they use. And we talked with 7 segments. Imagine there are 7 teams inside the company, and each of them has some needs, priorities, and wishes to be done or can be done. So we talked with all of them. We did 7 workshops, and we distilled 2 pages for every segment and department. And we distilled customer perspective, what their customers, end users, consumers needs and are facing, what obstacles they are solving. We did a profile of the segment, what we have to use, what can be used, what are the strong assets they have, and then the business needs the team had. That's the first slide up. And then we recommended and suggested from 10 to 15 use cases for this segment. And we did it for all 7 segments internally. And then based on that, we prepared a strategy from time perspective, cost perspective, and also we did a summary about ambitions and potential increments. And we stick it together, all 7 segments. We interconnected, and we came up with 116 use cases which can be produced and developed in the future. And then we run, based on our methodology, assessment and prioritization of use cases. That means that all those 7 segment use cases, 116, were sorted out, and we knew the priorities, potential increment, and the range of needs it is solving altogether across segments, for example. And that was the lineup of use cases we want, and the data need we have for them, and the strategy in numbers, costs, revenues, and time, what it takes. And this plan was used for more than 3 years, and we were mitigating all needs and the row of use cases in time. That was the job we did for CZ. CZC.CZ. We did a roadmap. You can see just 2 slides for inspiration. We divided the scope of 116 use cases into some chapters and verticals. And within these verticals, we set priorities which should be followed. And again, it is sorted out from 1 to 7 based on importance, revenue, productivity, and importance, cross segments and departments. Based on that, we also designed the use cases. For example, the CZC loyalty club. So we prepared more than 21 use cases, sorted out into, let's say, groups of life cycle of the loyalty club and so on. And every use case out of those 21 had a potential increment and revenue and jobs to be done and jobs which will be done. And the second slide below, discovery, is already one use case. We do multivariant cost estimate. So every time, at every moment, the customer can make choices at what scale he wants to develop the use case, and it has impact on the price. So it's like a matrix when client is telling us which way he or she wants to go, and we are following. Of course, our recommendation is always to build the entire use case with all those variations it might have. And we are thinking about use cases, searching for momentums in which it pays off to speak with the customer, to navigate him, to continue and to lead him to conversion and to cross-sell or upsell. And the result, it resulted in a long, now you can see the plateau of productivity. We never faced a hype cycle in CZC.CZ, and it led us to long-term productivity from increment, which was growing faster than costs. Costs were quite fixed, and we every month, every quarter, we increased the revenue it generated. And CZC.CZ is one of the most developed CDP users, and the return of investment was 762%, a long term.
Can I maybe follow this up with a question? It would be interesting. Is that how did the customer's expectation differ from the beginning when they were starting with the CDP project? And what was the kind of most surprising thing for the customer to learn? Was it maybe a new channel that they could use CDP in? Was it a use case that they were not thinking about? Was there something really interesting and specific? Because I think, you know, most of CDP implementation project really follow very similar template, right? So it's either being used for direct marketing. In Asia, we see it being used a lot for advertising segmentation and somewhere in between, right? So in Europe, it's very, very commonly, let's go with email marketing. That's kind of the first most obvious way to talk to the customer. So what was the kind of a client's expectation going into this, and what was maybe a surprising use case that you came up with and they adopted?
Okay. We don't have much time. So at the very beginning, we very often see the ask for use cases from the customer side, which doesn't make sense at all. Like wishing to birthday use case is very popular, does almost nothing, and everybody wants it. So we were facing. That was the short stress. Birthday use case will bring us a lot of care, pampering the customer, and revenue never happened. So the surprise was that suddenly, after talking to many people in the company, to more than marketing does very often, suddenly I love that moment that we are discovering options the teams have with CDP, and they just don't know. That's the digital level of maturity. So they are surprised what is possible to do, how to decrease costs of display advertisement, for example. And we are coming, of course, at the very beginning, there are some basic use case like abandoned cart and so on. You have to do it. That's of course. And suddenly we are coming with use cases which are surprising the customer, like customer care was living on NPS, which is nonsense today. NPS is very old metric and says nothing about motivations of customers and so on. So we discovered in NPS process some important moments customers were not aware of that is happening. Like very often, that's the painful truth. Very often the customer service is making a phone calls and direct contact, and nobody really knows what happened and how it ended up. And we ask immediately after the phone call ended, the customer, how is he satisfied with the call and the operator? And suddenly we brought not very popular hit parade of operators, call operators, and set what is their success ratio and so on. So we are using data very often. Other team don't know they have in the house, and suddenly we know very often more than specialists in one team or department, and we are helping them. Like, you have a data which might help you in a use case you already have. Why not to develop it this way? And they are surprised what is possible with CDP in a house. And I love that moment very much. And that's the biggest surprise. The people inside the house don't know what they have in a house, and we are bringing it to the sun and showing what can they do with such a data in their agenda, no matter the data are from elsewhere, because in the end of all, it's all about the customer experience, and it is quite intangible thing. Nobody knows who is responsible for it, but it is in everything, in the entire company, in every process, which can be improved. And we are showing it to customers, to departments, otherwise isolated, and they are discovering what powerful tool in CDP they have and what can be done and achieved. That's surprising every day. Yeah.
Super. Thank you. Appreciate it. And listen, I think we are running a little bit out of time, but I really would like to still take a couple of minutes to have a look at the second case study, if you would still be willing to share it, maybe in 5-6 minutes. And I would encourage, we'll probably obviously skip the Q&A that I have prepared. We can do this as a follow-up. I would love to kind of do it more as an interview style and put it in a blog post. But I would encourage anyone, if you have questions about either of those case studies or any of the best practices that Yarda has shared, please pop them in the chat. If we don't have time for them today, we'll try to answer them in a follow-up article that we'll publish after this. So put your questions down, please. We'll make sure we get back to you if it's personally relevant, or if it's something that's general. We'll try to respond to it in a blog post that we'll be following up here. Thank you. Over to you, Yardo, and let's keep this one to like maybe 5-6 minutes if you can.
Yes, I have just one slide which left, and takeaways we can share later on with presentation shared with the audience. I'm very sorry I'm too long, but I have a lot of things to say, so sorry. Well, a second case study which is showing how important the partner or somebody experienced is showing Aures Holding, which is the top Central and Eastern Europe seller of used cars with more than 30 years history. And what was the situation? The situation was that the client did it on their own. So they had CDP in a house for 18 months, and we call it usage 1.0. And from my perspective, it does nothing. There were a few use cases, short stress, MVPs, which was doing nothing. And the integration with IT was really complicated. They did it their way, very interesting, very surprising to us, but they used CDP as an email gateway. Then we came, and after another 15 months, so shorter period than they used it before, we call it usage 2, we did a new integration, which makes sense today. And also we found a person on the customer side, which was very smart, very dedicated, and very advanced in marketing, lead process management, and acquisition as well. So together we developed over 190 use case variations, providing support to lead management process, which is just excellent in Aures Holding. but a lot of killed leads were in a house. So we assisted and supported to make dead leads alive again, and assisted the entire process of lead management. And this year we are entering marketing qualified leads and web pages. So we are going more to acquisition and bringing new leads into the machine of lead management process. ROI I can't display because nobody would believe it, and it's a 4-digit number, and we returned hundreds of customers back to lead process, and they bought the car, no matter they left the process before. So CDP is assisting lead management process in this case, and this year we evolve it into more acquisition marketing initiatives. So that's the difference of somebody who did it, and that's the case. And the last, which is coming soon, is Asko Navitek, one of the largest domestic furniture retailers. Again, just one slide. 16 months of CDP onboarding story, which is really interesting. And again, it's not the short dress 2-3 campaigns, but it's 16 months of hard work from medieval times to 21st century. And this giant leap this client did will be soon on your screens because we shooted video, and today we are doing final cut. So till the end of January, if you follow Meiro or ePace or me, you will not miss this story, which is extremely interesting. On top of that, it was a lady who led this project, and she decided to follow one-way ticket. It pays off, or we are all unemployed. That's the story I'm offering very soon, and it's a video like 15 minutes. Quite a lot of things to say with great results. So that's the invitation very soon. And the last is, you can read later on, our supporting takeouts we did today in 5 chapters, in 5 tips. Get ready, take off just once, but perfectly, and speak to vendors and partners, because that's the most powerful support you can ever have. Thank you for attention.
Jaroslav, thank you so much. I think for, again, sake of time, we're running out. We'll close the call in a minute. So I want to thank everyone for attending today, spending your time with us. And if you have any questions, again, put them in the chat. We'll leave it open for a little while, or do message us on channels that you know where to reach us. Pavel at Meiro.io. You can connect with us directly with these QR codes right here as well. So thanks for your time. We'll be following up with the recording if you couldn't maybe watch the whole thing, and also a write-up summary that we would like to publish. So great to having you all here today. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day, and week is halfway through, so survive it. Until then, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.